Hey everybody, I'm back again with a brand new radio to work on, which, big surprise I guess at this point. This time I've got a Grunow Model 1091 Teledial. I've wanted one of these for a long time. They are just really neat sets. Teledials in general are just cool. I try to find radios with unusual features, whether it be like motorized tuning, I've got a few of those, or really fanciful dials, that sort of thing. A lot of collectors like to do that. This one I got at the club, at a local meeting recently, so it was pretty cheap. It's a 10-tube set. Not only does it have a teledial, but it also has automatic frequency control to go with that, so it'll be a lot of fun to play with that. And I can't really tell from the front of the set here, but the way the dial is actually set up, the center section with this portion here and the outer keys, this is our AM band, or standard broadcast. This section here is which kind of reminds me of like what Philco was doing in the late 30s. This is purely for foreign transmissions. Unfortunately, the glass has had all of its original labels wiped clean off the back. It would have had, I believe it said, like, what did that say? Foreign logging, and then foreign, and then police down here. And what was neat is that the dial lamp for these two sections, you have one that goes in the center of this in the back, and then one that goes behind here. And when you flip the band switch between bands, it selects which lamp to light up depending on what you're getting. And although on this one lights up, you just get this section here. And you also have this neat little volume indicator. There used to be a scale on there too to show how far up that, but you know, it's all gone. But when the AM band is selected, that light comes on, and not only lights up the Grunow section with all of this, but the inside of each one of these keys has painted white, or at least it was. Paint's flaking out of there, I gotta replace it, so that all the keys light up too. Pretty neat effect. The bulb holder connection was broken, so I wasn't able to try that out. So I stuck a pen light in there to try and make the same effect. In fact, this isn't quite the same type of light. It's white after all. Well, I've got the bulb in there already, so that's not going to work. But if we fish this in... Actually, if we take the cover off first, and then we fish that in, might be able to get something similar. Kind of, sort of. So, yeah, the center section is supposed to light up, and this LED is kind of weak, but you get the general idea. It's going to look cool. I like fancy consoles. The cabinet is in okay shape. Someone spray painted the entire outside of the thing, so the finish isn't really damaged so much as it is covered up in crap. But the story with this set, at least electrically, is that it was repaired partially for somebody that wanted to hear it play at least once. From what I've seen inside, all they really did was bypass the actual RF section and go straight to the audio section. They just hooked a wire up to the volume control, put an RCA jack on the left side of the chassis, and then ported it to a computer so that they could play internet radio over it. Very simply, which is okay because they only played it once, and given the level of work that was done to this, I wouldn't have left it on for very long. But that's just me. So, let me here, I'm going to flip the chassis over, and we're going to take a look we're going to take a look at the underside. Okay, so looking at the underside of the Grunow here, if anyone cares, this is a 10G chassis. It doesn't really matter. Just ignore this. This is actually one of the wires that goes to the dial. The two lamps for the broadcast and foreign positions for the dials are actually connected on the rotary switch that has all of the coils that switch in and out. So this wafer here is dedicated to turning one of those lights on and one of them off, as well as switching between some coils. So it's all in this lovely 4-wafer switch segment here, which all that still turns quite nicely, and index is pretty good, but that's going to be a lot of cleaning to get rid of scratches, I can imagine. And I'm sure this will be a lot of fun to align. Anyway, it has had work done already. The guy that worked on it did. He put in quite a few new capacitors. However, they left a whole bunch of old ones in place, most notably these Sprague Black Beauties here, which those tend to go bad. Well, they all tend to go bad. There's also a few of these larger dog bone style resistors that are still in place, so I have to check those. And also, some of the replacements were done kind of quickly. It's a little hard to see. This one over here actually was just given a quick solder splice to a piece of wire to a ground. And pretty much all the other ones, the connections were done quickly and the extra lead wasn't trimmed off. The solder connections were, I don't know if they're maybe not, might be a bit cold. And as far as electrolytics go, this set has 3 of them. And these two here, these were probably, I'm hoping anyway, that these were period replacements and that someone didn't just decide to throw in some new old stock dry electrolytics, because they aren't really dry. Well, they are now. They had a paste in them originally, but those are no good. Although these ceramic resistors here, these 5 waters, I'll have to check the schematic and see what the hell those are supposed to connect up to, because I don't quite remember. They might be in there to try dropping the B plus a little bit with the modern line voltage, but the connections to all of that are, well, they're not that great. Also, here's the line to that volume control that I mentioned earlier with the little RCA jack. What's funny is that they added this in order to bypass the RF circuits and play audio, but the set already has a phono plug added to it. You might think, oh, well, it's on the back, right? No, actually, for whatever reason, Grunow decided to put the phono plug right here. It actually comes up the top of the chassis. It's a 1/4-inch phono plug style, like a banana jack, whatever you want to call it, quarter. But it's all the way at the front, on the top, behind some tubes and an IF can and just a really bad place, and it's not labeled. There's nothing on the chassis to indicate that you have this phono jack here. And on top of that, when you plug something into this, it disconnects the audio path from the detector to the, I think it's the 6N7 phase inverter tube. So it bypasses all of that. So long as you have a record player or whatever plugged into that, you can't let the radio operate. So you have to reach back around there and unplug that in order to get the radio operation back, which kind of sucks. It'd be much nicer if they just put like a slide switch on the back of the chassis, or hell, if they even just had an auxiliary position on here. A lot of sets did that. If they were set up for like future television and FM service. Let's see, what else we got here? Oh yeah, we should probably look at the right side. Reposition everything here. There is one new electrolytic placed in here, coming right off the transfer. This is the first one. If I remember right from the schematic, the first one was actually rated at 30 microfarads. I was kind of surprised at that. Quite a lot right off the bat there. But with the 3 electrolytics this thing has got between the speaker and the power transformer coming, this one I believe comes right off the rectifier tube. It's quite a bit of capacitance, so should eliminate pretty much all the hum that you could squeeze out of the power supply. One of the big things though is when they worked on this, they did not replace either of the safety caps. So these are the line bypass, and of course they're both these wonderful domino style deals. They're just paper on the inside, so those are crap. I'm gonna have to get rid of those. I have checked the power transformer on this. The windings are good. All the tubes lit up and everything. Tried playing around with the dial lamps and figured out that I didn't understand how the band switch worked initially, so I took some of them apart. Oh well. I did discover that some of the tubes were, well, one of the tubes was missing, and one of the tubes was completely wrong. There was a 6K7 where the 6A8 mixer oscillator should have been. We'll take a look at the top of the chassis in a second here. But overall, it's a good spot. I mean, most of the hard work has been done already. I'm going to have to go through and check all the resistors and everything. Because this has automatic frequency control, which is something that I haven't dealt with before, I'm probably going to go through and replace a lot of the very small fixed value mica capacitors with modern silver micas where necessary, or, well, where applicable anyway. There are some ceramic discs in here, although I'm pretty sure those aren't original. I doubt in 1938 Grunow would have been using. I'm not even sure if ceramic discs were available then. Either way, there's a bunch of paper caps hiding inside, like right here, and there's some postage stamp style ones down here and tucked in there. I'll probably get rid of everything in the oscillator circuit just to be absolutely sure. And then I'll clean up this mess. I don't like that at all. Alright, well, let's take a look at the top side of things. The chassis on this, from what I can tell, is probably painted silver. So I've just been carefully cleaning the surface. I've actually been using a little bit of metal polish, and the top is actually coming out really good. There were a lot of pencil markings and scratch marks, and I'm trying to get rid of everything, and I just like to have a clean place to work on things. Let's see, what else is there? Also, this set would have had all metal tubes except for the rectifier. It's a, what is that, a 5Z3? Yeah. 6F6 push-pull outputs, 6M7 driver. The front end is a 6K7 for RF preamplification and pre-selection, whatever you want to call it. 6A8 oscillator mixer. We have a 6J7 for our automatic frequency control. And then another pair of 6K7s hidden back here to take care of the 2 stages of IF amplification. I don't think I've worked on a set that has 2 stages either before. And the cute but diminutive little 6H6 detector. These are the funniest little tubes ever. The tube layout sticker didn't fare all that great. I was trying to figure out what output tubes this thing took, but of course the label is completely destroyed, and one of them was missing. But someone had kindly penciled in what they were on the top, and yeah, the 6F6 was a really popular tube for output stages in that period of time, so it was either going to be that, or I was crossing my fingers it'd be one of the big models that uses the 6L6s. There are some Grunows, the 1100, like the 1191, I think, that takes 6L6s on the outputs, but those are 11 and 12 tube sets. Don't know what that sticker was, completely obliterated. We got the unwrapped laboratory crap. Someone got a little bit creative with the tape, but they were trying to cover up all the adjustment holes. The IF cans were covered in tape, and I've been pulling all of this off and cleaning it up because I'm going to have to go in there anyway. Alright, swing the camera up over the top here, see what we got to work with. One of the things I want to rectify with this is the missing capacitor can. So this is a replacement. They all would have been metal originally. I have one of the clamps still intact. That one is gone. But the clamps are still available. You can find them in old stock on eBay. They're like 1 3/8, I think. Yeah. I'll get another one of those, and I'll probably just screw it down to the chassis, get them cleaned up, and try to find some dead capacitors put in. I have a few laying around, but I think they're mostly paper. I've got some of my metal ones dedicated to my bigger RCA console sets. The tuning capacitor here, I'm going to have to put that in the rust remover and get that all cleaned up. It's pretty gnarly. And the rubber grommets at either end are fried. We have the single one back here supporting it, and then there are a pair. One guy here and one on the other side. And then also we have this lovely large rubber coupling disc that goes to the dial. And it's a geared system, and it actually works really, really well. What's interesting about this is that unlike a lot of other tuning systems where there's like a clutch system where when you go to the automatic tuning, like the actual Teledial, sometimes it would disconnect the tuning knob from that assembly so it wouldn't spin it. The Grunow just has a direct drive, so the cable does still move with the Teledial setup. So you've got fine tuning, and you've got, I guess, the Teledial sort of coarse tuning with the AFC to keep it locked in. You can, however, turn the AFC on and off with a switch on the front that I think also operates the tone control. And every time you push one of the Teledial buttons in, it actually shuts the AFC off until you release it, and then it kicks back in. Kind of neat. Need to find a metal version of a 6N7, which I'm sure will be so very easy. And then these are supposed to be 6F6Gs. I have some, but they are already dedicated to something else, so I'll have to go on eBay and hunt them down. For now, though, these GTs will work just fine for testing. And then what else? Oh yeah, the power transformer. Nothing special about that, but it is getting a bit rusty, so I'm probably going to pull the covers off of that, clean them, and repaint them. I mean, sometimes it's kind of pointless to do that, but if I'm going to clean up the whole thing, I really like to get rid of as much of the rust as possible. Dial assembly, not in bad shape at all. The rubber disc is solid enough, it should be alright to keep working. And the IF cans, I'll probably pull those off and clean them up. I also want to make sure there's no capacitors hiding in here, no resistors. I don't think there is, but I'll have to double check my schematic for that. But that's about it for this. I just want to do a little bit of a preview before I really start going in and working on it. But hopefully I'll start work tomorrow, and I can't wait to hear what this thing sounds like. I haven't actually done work on a console, for myself anyway, in quite a while. My last one was an 8-tube Zenith, so this will be my first large tube set with push-pull audio. I have done the Packard Bell I did was a push-pull 6V6, I think? And it sounded pretty good, but I really want to see how this thing sounds. And of course I want to play with the Teledial. That's the coolest part of the whole thing.